spin a web or an orb web like the one you see here, they are going to make silk, and they might use it for different things. They might use it as like a trip line or a safety wire. So they'll all make that silk, but they do not all make a web. Okay, and they have different glands that make different types, and it's actually released to the spinnerets. So they have, like, for example, a sticky type of thread they might make, and one that's maybe more supportive. And so when they're making a web like this, they'll weave like sticky threads on it in a spiral to catch their prey. And then they'll have ones that aren't sticky that they'll like sit upon and wait to feel those vibrations. The thread itself is stronger than steel. It's made of a protein, and scientists have been studying it for a long time to try to form these biopolymers that sort of mimic its strength. And like I was saying earlier, different glands make different types of silk. So again, they have more than one silk gland. The spider spinning a web. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but you can kind of see how that works. So remember, as the spider's spinning it, they're releasing it out of the spinnerets back here. And then what they do is they use those back limbs to kind of stretch it out and place it where it needs to go. So this part right here is, they can see it very well. So this spider has little glands back here called spinnerets, and that is what that silk comes out of. Again, they use those back legs to kind of put in the line they want. So, probably don't need to really watch a lot more of that, but this is just kind of showing how they actually build it. And this, again, is just a video that somebody captured when they were watching this at home. Okay, real quick, something to keep in mind. Don't forget that we have several different types of arachnids. So ticks and mites are arachnids too, but they have a few different traits that put them in a different group. So ticks are parasitic. They eat blood. They can eat blood from several different types of organisms, but a lot of them will prefer a mammal. With our mites, you'll have several of them that are parasites, but then there's lots that are free-living, and they live in the soil. You might have some free-living ones that feed upon plants, but you'll also have ones that are parasitic to plants. One way they're different, and it's probably really easy to tell when you're looking at this tick, is they don't have two body regions. So if you can see this little tick here, they really just have these mouth parts on the end, and their body is just sort of one. Okay, and then this here is a type of mite, and again, their body is just sort of one region, and that's different from most of our other arachnids. Ticks are relatively dangerous. In some ways, they're probably a little more dangerous than our typical spider. Okay, because if you look at spiders, a lot of them get rid of nasty insects and things we really don't want around. Ticks don't do that for us. And because they're parasites, they also can carry disease. And so, two of the diseases that are common that are potentially harmful are Lyme disease and Rocky Mountain spotted fever. If you look at this map here, you can see that where we live in Missouri, we are at a minimal or no risk of getting Lyme disease. But if you travel further south, we get a low risk. And then there's actually areas up over here where you have a high or moderate risk of actually contracting that illness. And there's a link between that and the density of deer populations, because a lot of times it's the deer tick that will carry that Lyme disease. So a couple examples of what a tick looks like. When they're engorged, they take on a gray color, and you can't even hardly see the little limbs because they're full of blood. Well, this guy here, you should be able to tell that it does have those 8 limbs, which is an arachnid trait. This here too. And then this is a slide that's really zoomed in, but it's showing a tick in the 4 stages of its life. So there's one, they have like a nymph or a baby stage, and they get a little larger, and so that's kind of neat. And then here you can see this one I thought was very cool. You can see up close, you can see those little mouth parts. And you can kind of see there's the head and mouth part region. Mites, there's several. I mean, there are lots and lots of mite species, and we just don't know much about them because they're pretty small. But what I mean is you guys don't know a lot about them. You don't hear a lot about them in your daily life. But dust mites are probably in every single one of our homes. They're very small. They eat little bits of dead skin and things like that. And a chigger is another example of one you maybe have come across. If you get bit by a chigger, you're being bit by a larval baby mite, and they they don't actually burrow into your skin, but they do kind of liquefy your tissue and suck it up, and that's why you get those nasty red bumps from those chiggers. Just a couple examples of mites, but really there's thousands of species of them, and again, some parasitize plants, some eat plants. Lots of mites are found in the soil and they're beneficial.